Hello again. I rather think that most viewers will be familiar with hearing that this or that pastime or hobby in this country, from walking in the countryside or bell ringing to model railways, has been found to appeal more to white people than to those of African or Asian ancestry. This is automatically seen as a problem to be solved, rather than simply the fact that different demographic groups in terms of social class, age or ethnicity prefer to spend their leisure time in different ways. The latest hobby to fall victim to this accusation is English folk music, which is under scrutiny for being white-centric. And no, I did not make up that phrase. It is a fairly newly minted term which goes hand in hand with the word decolonisation. I dare say that older viewers will have learned English folk songs at school, things like Blow the Wind Southerly or On Richmond Hill There Lives a Lass. They may have taken part in English country dancing as well. But how many black people or those from South Asia were involved in the writing of those songs or the choreography of the dances? I'll warrant this is a question which they have never asked themselves. I doubt if they were aware that there are barriers to accessing the folk club scene for members of ethnic minorities either. Just what these barriers are, I'm not at all clear. Presumably, they are similar to the barriers which we hear of which prevent black people from visiting the countryside. You will perhaps be pleased to hear that £1.5 million of taxpayers' money is to be spent on investigating this supposed problem. Thank goodness it's taxpayers' money, not real life £1.5 million. I mean, let's face it, taxpayers' money is a bit like monopoly money, isn't it? It's not real cash of the sort that you find in your pocket or bank account. The funding has been awarded to a research project that aims to decolonise folk singing, and this work will be carried out at Sheffield University. In the description to this video, I give a link to a news item about it. The problem is, you see, that despite the efforts to prove otherwise, the truth is that this country was, until the end of the Second World War, almost completely white, a state of affairs which had existed since the end of the last ice age. That being so, it was perhaps inevitable that any traditions of folk music which developed would be, well, white. Just as the musical traditions in Africa are black, and those in the Middle East tend to be Arab. That's how it is with folk music. I do not personally see this as a cause for concern. I am aware that jazz, reggae and rap are heavily bound up with blackness and have never viewed this as any sort of problem, any more than the fact that the folk music I learned at school was associated with whiteness. Perhaps some viewers know about the type of dancing from India called Bhangra. This developed in the Punjab and is very much associated with what perhaps you might describe as Indianness. Is that a problem? Should we be seeking to widen access to Bhangra and make it more accessible to white English people? Should we be trying to remove the blackness from reggae? Put like this, of course, it sounds absurd, which it is. No more absurd, though, than attempting to decolonise English folk music and make it less white-centric so that other ethnicities can take part in it more readily. Why is it that all ethnic groups have a special and particular culture which must be respected as the expression of that people's inner identity? Every ethnic group, that is, except for the English, whose culture must be criticised and wherever possible dismantled in the process known as decolonisation. I wonder why that is, that our culture alone is thought to be worthless and in need of destruction.